What's going on, everyone? Andrew Hefley here with Let's Get Real, coming out of North Central Arkansas. I'm in a hotel room traveling, so I'm trying to get these videos out to you while I'm doing that as well. Today's video is going to be discussing how to stay calm during trials and misfortune. We're going to be using an ancient philosophy technique to be able to do that. So without further ado, let's jump into this and let's get real. Alright guys, I hope you're having an exceptionally well day today, and if not, that's okay, because we're going to be discussing a few different ways that we can work through those misfortunes or trials. As I mentioned in the intro, I am in North Central Arkansas. I'm at a hotel right now. I'm spending time with my children, with my girlfriend, and just kind of working on a few projects on some property that I have out here, and just kind of enjoying my time off. Tomorrow will be Wednesday, the day that I upload this video. I'll be heading back up to Kansas to do my rotation for work. As if you're not familiar already, I do armed security services, so I'll be back in action doing that. And of course, still working on videos when I'm not in work. Today's video, we're going to be discussing how to go through trials and misfortunes with the right mindset. I mentioned, alluded to using an ancient philosophy, and what we're going to be talking about is Stoicism. But first, before we talk about that, I want to read you a quick quote by Seneca. Seneca stated, "To bear trials with a calm mind robs misfortune of its strength and burden." I like to read things a couple times. Let me reread that. To bear trials with a calm mind robs misfortune of its strength and burden. Now, who is Seneca? Let me tell you a bit about Seneca. Seneca was a Roman statesman and a philosopher who followed Stoicism, an ancient philosophy that teaches people to live in accordance with reason and nature. Stoicism aims to cultivate mental tranquility, virtue, and self-control, and to focus on what one can control rather than what one cannot. Seneca wrote letters on Stoicism to his friend Lucilius, where he discussed the idea of making progress in developing a better character. Seneca learned Stoicism from his early teacher, Attalus, and admired Cato, who was another Stoic. All right, pretty cool, right? Sounds pretty interesting. But why Stoicism, Andrew? Why talk about Stoicism? It's an ancient philosophy that really works around teaching people how to live in accordance with reason and nature. Basically, it uses logic and self-control techniques and viewpoints to not allow your emotions to control you, okay? So you control your emotions don't control you, and essentially when you have trials and misfortunes, when you have taken the time to build on this, and this skill set, right, on Stoicism, this philosophy, then when you have these things, you're better equipped to be able to tackle them by not allowing those emotions to take over and drive you, right? You're not giving them the steering wheel of your life and say, here you go, do whatever you want. Let's just freak out, right? Or let's just cry about it. And, just become debilitated, not be able to do anything besides those emotions, what they will allow you to do. And as you already know, that can be very dangerous, right? Whether it's just being stuck in depression, whether it goes down a line of self-harm or not, it can be a dangerous thing. You're not growing, you're not learning, you're not becoming a better individual, a man or woman, right? You're just stuck. And even when you get mad, you can go down this path through anger and make horrible decisions, right? You could throw your phone against a wall. Now you're out money and trying to fix a phone. You destroy relationships and friendships of different kind, whether it's personal or other. So it's important to keep that control. Now, Stoicism came to me in my life whenever I went through divorce. So when I had separated my ex-wife and moved a few hours away for work purposes to make more money, to be able to support myself and the new bills I would be accumulating, I was going through a dark time, a difficult time. I had been married 6 years at that time, and it was my first marriage, and first having children. We had 2 children, Matthew and Andrew, at this marriage at this time. Whenever I had separated, so there was a lot there to decompress, or excuse me, to unbag. And there was a lot of emotions involved with that. Not only, separating, being alone, basically 2.5 hours away from my children, being away from my children, not seeing my children every day. I was used to that, right? If you're a parent, you understand that. You know what it's like. You're around your kids, and when you're away from them for a few hours or the day, and you get back home, you're like, oh, come here, babies. You want to love on them. So when you can't do that, and you have to go weeks before you can do that, it's heartbreaking. That first night, I remember the anxiety that was involved with that. It was so hard to fall asleep. But Stoicism, I found Stoicism a few months into my new adventure, my new chapter of my life. I moved down to Little Rock, Arkansas, and started working down there at a detention facility, a jail, basically. And I had stumbled upon Stoicism, I think, on Spotify, right? And I was just listening to podcasts, and late at night when I was driving in, and even whenever I went on to day shift, about 7 months in, I was still listening to different podcasts on Stoicism and learning about it and applying. But for 6 months, my mind was in a cloud, right? This fog, this haze. Now, there was a lot that came with that divorce, or that separation before we actually got divorced. There was a lot of history there, a lot of things, PTSD that I was dealing with, a lot of post-traumatic disorder issues, and just a lot of mental and spiritual things that had just happened that weighed me down. So I was in a cloud, right? And if you've ever been through it, you understand. Studying Stoicism, and not just studying it, but actively applying it, and that's key. Actively applying these things allowed me to be able to control my emotions, right? Those times where the phone calls got cut short, or I couldn't speak to my sons for almost 2 weeks, and just being devastated by that and depressed by that. But as I applied these techniques from Stoicism, I was able to come back, right? I was able to bring those emotions back, have control over them. It's not about suppressing it, never feeling it, all right? I am an advocate when I tell people, when I do life coaching, I talk with people, I say, you need to feel your feelings, right? There is a time and a place. It can be anywhere, it can be any time, but there is a time where you can sit down and just cry it out. It's okay to do that, right? You are human. Do it. Feel it. You need to feel it. It's the only way to grow is to feel through it. You have to feel so you can grow through it, okay? But don't let it control you, right? 6 months in a cloud, would that have been the case if I would have known Stoicism prior to leaving? I want to say it wouldn't have been as long, right? It wouldn't have been as long as 6 months. Maybe it could have been 3 months or a month, right? Who knows? We can't go in the past and try to change it. I just know as I was learning and studying it, I was applying it, and it was able to cut that down. So if I wouldn't have done that, it could have been a year before I got out of that cloud, to be honest. Now, when you look at Stoicism, you look at the divorce, for instance. My mind was clouded for 6 months, learned Stoicism. During that 6 months, I was able to control those emotions, feel it, but not let it control me. And I was able to analyze, use logic, and understand, okay, I'm feeling like this because of these reasons. Okay, this is my children. I love my children. I've gone every single day, being around my children, seeing them, hearing their voices, talking with them, seeing their faces, getting those awesome hugs, and also analyzing the person that I left. Who was she? What was she going through at that time? And how did she react to me during that time? What was her ways to get back to me at that time? I'm not saying she's a horrible person. She's a great mom, and she's definitely been working on those things. But at that time, it wasn't the case. Right? In that time, it was difficult, and she was a very difficult person to work with, especially in trying to communicate with the boys. Using Stoicism, I was able to look at those trials and those misfortunes and build my emotional strength to be able to know, hey, it's okay to be sad. It's okay to miss them. But stay happy. Enjoy life. Know that life is still moving on. Whether you're sad, mad, or glad, life is going on. The sun still rises and it still sets. The stars still twinkle with or without you. I'm not trying to be cold about it, but whether I'm here or not, all those things are still going to take place for the most part, right? So why not enjoy life? Why not learn to be happy and work through those things? Now, let's look at something else. Let's look at a situation you might be in. This is a pretty common one where, let's say you have a partner, whether it's your spouse, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, or it could just be a friend. But let's say it's someone that you share a domain with, share a home with. Usually you guys are on pretty good terms. Usually you guys are on the same page. You both are pretty well happy, and you both move along the day, going to work, coming home, hanging out, watching a movie, making dinner with each other, that whole bit, doing laundry, no issues. It's pretty swell for the most part. But then there's a day where, say you come home and your other person just seems to be kind of grumpy or maybe a little short with you. In these situations where Stoicism could take effect, let's say if you're not using Stoicism, you might get a little upset at them, which could be, it's completely normal, right? If they're being short with you, you're like, well, what did I do? I didn't do anything, right? Well, unless you just left your socks laying around. But even if you did that, and they were a little upset, let's say they were a little bit more upset than usual, should you be mad at them? No, you shouldn't be mad at them, because you already recognize through your logic, right, your common sense, that you're saying, hey, this isn't normal behavior for this person, so I'm not going to get mad at them. Don't get mad at them. See the issue being the issue, not the person. The issue is the issue, not the person. So instead of just getting mad, or instead of just ignoring them completely, because that's not good either. Just ignoring it's not good either. Sometimes people need space. Give people space. But in a situation like that, it would be good to sit them down and talk with them. Get rid of distractions, turn the TV off, set the phones to the side, and say, hey, I noticed, you got something going on. I just want you to know, even if you don't want to talk about it, even though we're in a setting where they can talk about it now, right? You've got rid of distractions. But say, even though if you don't want to talk about it, it's okay. I just want you to know that you're loved. I love you. I care about you. And I'm here for you. You're in a safe space. So if there's something going on, whether I can change it or not, or just listen, just know I'm here for you. And that's a way that you can let them know that they don't have to be pressured into speaking, because that could upset them more, right? It can make matters worse. People just need to know that you're there. And it also lets them be accountable for how they're being, because they know that they're being short with you. They know that they're having a little bit of a temper, or whatever the case may be, towards you. And I don't think they mean it, especially if it's not within their normalcy of how they go each day. So they're going to recognize that. But that also puts it back on them too, in a way, and we're not doing it for this, but it also lets them know, hey, wait a minute. In their mind, they're saying, wait a minute. You know what? Okay, yeah, I need to watch it. I need to tone it back down, calm down. And then again, that's a great opportunity that they can now, you present it to them, they can now speak to you and open up dialogue about that. But using Stoicism for you having to deal with someone else projecting their stuff onto you is a way that says, hey, I'm not going to let how they feel determine how I feel, okay? I'm not going to let them dictate that and then me project it on there, and it just becomes worse and worse and worse. Now, for the other person who may be having a difficult day, say if you're the one that's projecting those things out there and you're being short, you're being a little difficult with your other person, your spouse, using Stoicism would be able to say, hey, wait a minute, okay, am I controlling my life right now? Am I controlling my emotions? Or am I allowing my emotions to have the steering wheel and control me? Which, again, like I was mentioning, can lead to devastating results. It will cause friction between you and your loved ones and the people that you consider you have relationships with. So it's important to take charge. So you can stop and analyze and use logic and think about that. So am I keeping peace between other people and nature and within myself or not? All right, so I want to give another example. One more example. And that is the flat tire example. Most of us have experienced a flat tire. Most of us have been driving, saying to work. Usually it's in the situations where we're kind of on a time limit, so to speak, right? Where we are heading to work, we're heading somewhere, and we're trying to get there because we need to be there for whatever the situation is. And then all of a sudden we hear that thump, 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 and okay, now we got a flat tire. Now that in itself is frustrating, right? It's more frustrating if it's really cold, it's really hot, or it's raining outside. The elements are an issue. It's even more excruciating if we don't have a spare tire. That is just like, oh, it's horrific, right? So there's other factors that can play into this that can compound and make it so much more difficult for us to keep control of our emotions, and to see this even as an opportunity to, hey, I can work on myself now, right? Because we don't want to think about that. That's the last thing we want to think about, working on myself. No, I want to get where I'm going without a freaking flat tire. So in those situations, whenever you're, say you pulled over, you need to be able to stop yourself. You need to be able to have a moment, just like in the other examples, right? Between my divorce, getting, say, if she cuts the phone off from mid-conversation, talking to my boys, I haven't talked to them in 3 or 4 or 7 days, to you have a significant other who is just kind of being short with you, being in the car, you have a flat tire, and those other situations, just close your eyes. I know it seems so cliche, but it works. What you're doing is grounding yourself. It's like walking outside without shoes on in nice weather and feeling the grass, feeling the breeze, not having your phone, no distractions, and letting that peace come over you and be inside of you and just be one with you. It's the same concept, and it works the exact same way. I'm not asking you to smile, to release endorphins. I'm just saying, take a second. Take 5 minutes. You can be late. Being late is fine compared to what could be the outcome, right? Calm yourself. Take that time. In Stoicism, that's what it's all about, is taking that moment to take a breather, relax a little bit, and ground yourself, get that peace back in, get that control back, and then go about your business. Flat tires happen, life happens, but how you deal with it is what matters. So on that note, I'm going to reread this quote to you, and I want you to think about it over the next few days and throughout the day, and study Stoicism, look into it. All right, Seneca stated, "To bear trials with a calm mind robs misfortune of its strength and burden." Y'all have a fantastic day. Be exceptionally well. This is Andrew Hefley with Let's Get Real.